that Bucky?
Thunderbolts. Written by Eric Pearson, who helped write Thor Ragnarok, and Joanna Kahlo, who helped write a few episodes of The Bear and BoJack Horseman. Hey, wait, aren't those all really good? This movie is the last film in Marvel's Phase 5, and I'm not gonna lie, this one was a pleasant surprise. This actually is one of the best movies in Phase 5. But hold your horses, it's not really saying much. Thinking back on Phase 5, we only had 5 movies in the past 3 years before Thunderbolts, with Guardians 3 being the only one that's certifiably good, and Deadpool 3 being liked by a lot, even if it wasn't for everyone. However, Thunderbolts, even in a shallow pool of good movies, Thunderbolts still deserves credit. Now, because of how little traction we've been getting when it comes to the Avengers regarding Doomsday coming out next year, I went into this movie with no expectations other than, hey, give us something Avengers related to nibble on. Because in my last video, I mentioned the MCU has very little time to set up the Avengers, and they're flying really close to the sun by not doing that in Brave New World. But one of the things I liked about this movie is that it takes this thought. It takes the audience's want for the Avengers and says, hey, we want the Avengers too. Where the hell are they? If they're not here, then we'll make our own team. This movie tries to make things happen for us and the people in the world of the MCU by having the Thunderbolts be the solution for everyone. And I thought that was kinda cool. And that wasn't the only thing that was cool. The story was definitely a nice change of pace. It isn't just team fights the big bad of the story. It actually explores darker subject matters surrounding the pasts of our characters, and it does a good job of getting you to care about them. Like Elena, for example, she was in Hawkeye and Black Widow, and I just now learned what her name is because Thunderbolts finally gave me a reason to care about her. Florence Pugh did a really convincing job of conveying Elena's sadness over losing her sister and having no one there to support her and continuously lacking support over the course of a year. Louis Pullman played Bob, who is a troubled character, and he came off as not only very believable, but also very wholesome and helpless to a point where I was like, damn, dude, I wish I could give this guy a hug and help him. I never expected to feel this way about characters in an MCU movie, and Elena and Bob were the best parts of this movie. And with that being said, Thunderbolts is very much Elena and Bob's movie. Bucky and the others kind of take a back seat, but honestly, it's better that way. Bucky still gets to act as the senior member who kind of guides everyone, and others act as characters for Elena and Bob to bounce off of. Red Guardian was cute and funny in an excited dad kind of way, but it was never really over the top or annoying, and he served as a good emotional anchor for Elena. And that's another thing. There are a lot of emotional beats in this movie. Like Elena just sitting next to Bob in a memory room from his past, Elena talking to her dad, and even Garrett Walker seeing himself be a bad father after having a memory vision. And also the way the story unfolds through the use of memories is such a cool concept because all of our characters use guns and punch stuff, and they can't use either of those things to solve this conflict. And it leads to a memory sequence with Elena, which is the coolest sequence of the whole movie. On top of that, giving us glimpses of characters' past through another character's abilities is a much better way to get us to connect to them without having them say, yeah, I had a bad past or whatever. The glimpse is all we need. These memories really serve to drive the conflict and allow for the exploration of darker subject matters, and I really appreciate that because other MCU movies feel like they fight the big bad or talk no jutsu their way out of a conflict. Thunderbolts doesn't do either of those things. Things happen and their consequences are here to stay. So this movie did a lot of unexpected things that I liked, but I do have some gripes with it. This is an action movie after all, and I expect good action at the bare minimum. However, in the whole film, we only get like 2 cool sequences, and they're quick too. The scene where the Thunderbolts first meet and the scene in the building in New York. Other than that, like, action is kind of forgettable. The music is also forgettable. Valentina was a little too nefarious as an antagonist. There was a scene where she tried to encourage Bob to learn how to use his powers, but she was so obviously manipulative with compliments and stuff. Like, that is definitely an evil thing to do, even though they were trying to set her up as someone who is trying to do something good by getting together a new Avengers type of team. Also, the final conflict was resolved a little too easily for my liking. The conflict was very difficult to deal with, to the point where I thought actual Avengers were gonna have to come in and get involved. But the Thunderbolts handled it, and I don't know, it was a little too clean of a resolution. Overall though, Thunderbolts is a fun movie that does something a little different. I felt like it was always moving and every scene had a reason to be there. The action wasn't really great aside from a couple moments, but it's still a good time and better than a lot of the newer entries in Phase 5 of the MCU. I enjoyed my time watching this and left the theater pleasantly surprised, so this movie gets a 7 out of 10.